As the clock ticks down to the end of Title 42 border protections, the Biden administration still has not shared details on how it plans to combat the expected migrant surge. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas was pressed on Capitol Hill this week on the record number crossing the border. Let's bring in Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich. He is also a U.S. Senate candidate, sir. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know you've spent a considerable amount of time down there at the border, so I want to start with the looming expiration of Title 42. Over 150,000 migrants are estimated to be just waiting in Mexico, with more potentially traveling there if this COVID-19 related health policy is lifted. Arizona, 21 other states as well, has filed this federal lawsuit early April asking a judge to stop the government from lifting Title 42. You've been there, you've talked to the law enforcement, you've talked to ranchers on the border. What do you anticipate happening if that May 23rd deadline gets closer and closer?
Well, Molly, thank you for having me on. And I'm very proud that we led that effort. And I'm very proud that our lawyers got a temporary restraining order where the federal judge said to the Biden administration, stop, you cannot rescind Title 42 at this time. Because I think there's a recognition that what the Biden administration has done, with whether it's permanent guidance, whether it's releasing, felons or people charged with crimes in our neighborhoods, whether it's subsidizing illegal entry into our country, what they are doing does not survive rational thought, yet alone constitutional scrutiny. So that is one of the reasons why I am constantly in federal court, sometimes all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, trying to stop the lawlessness at our southern border. I began my career as a gang prosecutor. I've seen firsthand the devastation that's being wrought, not only on Arizona, but on states throughout this entire country as a result of the cartels seizing operational control and a record amount of fentanyl and methamphetamine coming into our country. People are dying. People are dying as a result of the failed policies of the Biden administration.
Well, shifting a little bit to politics, the number of people streaming across the border, as you mentioned, it's staggering. 1 million people in 6 months. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has warned that the numbers could surge even further to roughly 18,000 border crossers a day. The midterms are around the corner. This is an issue. Certainly it could hurt Democrats at the polls, especially if there's even a more massive surge and no effective response. But is there a risk to Republicans as well? Or is this just a pure opportunity for the GOP to present an alternative strategy for the border?
Molly, people shouldn't be thinking of this in terms of politics. This isn't right versus left. This is fundamentally right versus wrong. And what is happening to our southern border right now is wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. It's not humane. It's insane what the Biden administration is doing. And we throw out these numbers about people, how many people have died, and, more than 2 million people illegally crossing our border. My goodness, that's the size of 3 U.S. states just in 1 year. When you say 18,000 people in 1 month will per day will cross once Title 42 is lifted, that's like an entire basketball arena every single day illegally entering our country. And the drug cartels are profiting off this. And we know that people literally on the terror watch list have been apprehended. So border security is national security. And it's time for the folks in D.C. to wake up and not just talk about this every time there's an election, but address this problem and, quite frankly, start enforcing the law as it is. And that's fundamentally where this all has to begin, literally. And that's why we have to keep suing, or I have to keep suing the Biden administration, because they aren't following the law and their constitutional responsibilities.
Yeah, a little shift to gear now to the Department of Homeland Security's new Disinformation Governance Board. Critics say, boy, that sounds a little creepy. But several GOP lawmakers weighed in pretty swiftly on this. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas tweeting, the federal government has no business creating a ministry of truth. The Department of Homeland Security's Disinformation Board is unconstitutional and un-American, and I'll be introducing a bill to defund it. Not a lot of information either about this Disinformation Board, but do you view the board as part of the Biden administration's attempt to stifle free speech?
Absolutely. It's not only constitutionally suspect, but I know that the administration, know that Joe is happy with it. And not Joe Biden, but Joe Stalin, because this really is eerily reminiscent of the Ministry of Propaganda and what we see in, communist and totalitarian regimes, where you have these apparatchiks that essentially are controlling speech and thought. And I guess the only thing I will say about this is that we now know where all these people Elon Musk is going to fire from Twitter are going to end up, because they're going to end up being, sycophants and apparatchiks in the Biden administration.
We are definitely going to be watching that story as well as you talk about Twitter. Thank you so much, Attorney General Mark Brnovich. We really appreciate your insights tonight. Thanks for joining us for a few minutes.
Thank you, Molly.